We've all been there, right? That horrible feeling when it's the hottest day of the year and the house suddenly goes quiet. The AC is dead, the stress is immediate. But what if you knew exactly what to expect when the technician arrives? Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to turn that anxiety into confidence by demystifying that first service call.
So let's set the scene. It is sweltering outside. Inside, your AC has just given up the ghost. It's the moment every single homeowner dreads. You pick up the phone and you make the call. But what happens next? What should a real professional actually be doing when they walk through your front door? Okay, the first thing you absolutely need to know is this. A real diagnosis takes time. If a technician shows up, pokes around for maybe 15 minutes, and then hands you a massive quote, that is a huge red flag. A proper, thorough investigation to find the actual root of the problem is going to take a solid 60 to 90 minutes. Easy. And that's really the whole point, right? The goal here isn't just to spot a symptom and slap a Band-Aid on it. We're talking about a true diagnostic, a methodical, step-by-step investigation, not just a quick glance. You see, a real diagnostic visit is all about finding out why something failed in the first place, so you're not calling them back for the same problem a month from now. Was the capacitor dead just because it was old? Or did something else, something bigger, cause it to burn out? A good technician isn't a part swapper. They're a detective, and they're looking for the root cause. So what does that detective work actually look like? Let's pull back the curtain and walk through what a pro is really doing during that hour to an hour and a half they're at your home. So the first thing they're going to do is trace what's called the sequence of operations. Think of it like an electrical chain reaction that kicks your AC on. They're going to methodically check each step in that chain to see exactly where the signal is getting dropped. It's just like following a trail of breadcrumbs to find the one single point of failure. Next up, they're going to check the system's airflow. I mean, you can think of your HVAC system like it's a living thing. It has to be able to breathe to work. And if it can't, everything else goes wrong. This means they're looking for dirty filters, clogged coils, or even bigger problems like poorly designed ductwork that's literally choking your system. This brings us to a really important rule, a kind of mantra that the best techs live by. ABC, which stands for air before charging. It just means they will always make sure the system can breathe properly before they ever even think about touching the refrigerant. Why? Because adding more refrigerant to a system that's already choking is just a recipe for a much, much bigger failure. And this is how they get their answers, with hard data, not just guesswork. They'll use a multimeter to check the electrical vital signs of motors and other components. They'll hook up digital gauges to measure refrigerant pressures, which can point to leaks or other issues. They'll use a manometer to check static pressure. Think of it like a blood pressure cuff for your ducts. If it's too high, the system is struggling. And of course, a thermometer to measure the temperature split, which is just the difference in temperature between the air going in and the air coming out. All these numbers, together, tell the true story of what's going on. So, at the end of all this testing, all of that data should be put together and handed to you in a formal report. You need to think of this as your system's personal medical record. It's the proof of a job done right, and it's your key to actually understanding what they're proposing to fix. And listen, this isn't just some nice to have. Your medical record has to include these specific data points. Any error codes the system is showing, the exact amperage readings compared to what they should be, that temperature split, the static pressure numbers, capacitor readings, and the refrigerant levels. This is your non-negotiable checklist. If this stuff is missing from the report, the diagnosis wasn't finished, period.
Let's break this down with a real-world example. So a capacitor is basically a little battery that gives your motors a kickstart. It has a specific rating, which is measured in microfarads or MFD. As you can see here, this capacitor is rated for 45 MFD, but when the tech tested it, it's only measuring 38. That's hard proof that it's getting weak and is on the verge of failing completely.
Here's another big one, and this one hits you right in the wallet. Every motor in your system has a rated amperage. That's the normal amount of electricity it should be using. This motor is supposed to draw 1.5 amps, but it's actually pulling 2.1. That's a huge sign that it's overworking and straining to do its job. Not only is it heading for an early death, but it's also sucking up way more electricity, which means your utility bills are higher right now.
Okay, so now that you're armed with all this info, you're in a much, much stronger position. So let's wrap this up by talking about the key questions you can and should ask to protect yourself and your home.
All right, this is the big one, the one everyone dreads.
The technician's barely been there an hour, and they're already telling you the whole thing is shot and you need a brand new system for thousands and thousands of dollars. What do?
The answer here is so simple. Always. Get a second opinion. If there's a legitimate, urgent reason for a full replacement, there will be undeniable proof. A real pro will show you a camera feed of the giant crack in your heat exchanger, or they'll show you the data that proves a catastrophic compressor failure. Without that kind of hard evidence, you just take a deep breath, thank them for their time, and call another company.
Now, here's a practical one we see a lot. Maybe you're in an apartment or a condo where getting to the outdoor unit is a huge hassle. Can a tech still figure out what's wrong by just looking at the stuff inside? And the answer to that is a hard no. Absolutely not. Full access to that outdoor unit is mandatory for a real diagnosis. The refrigerant cycle is the lifeblood of your air conditioner, and the only way to check its vitals is to physically connect gauges to the ports on that unit. Any diagnosis without that crucial step is just a guess, and you should never pay for guesswork. So in the end, it really just boils down to one simple question you need to ask yourself. Is the person in my home acting like a detective, or are they acting like a salesperson? A true professional is a detective. They use tools, they gather data, and they methodically find the root cause of the problem. Anyone else might just be trying to sell you something. Now that you know what to look for, you can make sure you're hiring the detective every single time.